I had every reason to quit the last 3 years. I had every reason to be like, you're not good enough. You shouldn't do this. And all you do is lose. And I could still feel that way in this moment right now, right? Like, but back to my first day in the gym with it actually doing tryouts, it was like, you should do this, and this is what you're going to do.
I want to share a post real quick on your Facebook page. It's public, so I think it's good to share it. But I just felt it when you posted it. It hit me in a way, and I thought it was cool, and I want to share it here with our listeners. And it's year 18, year 9 as a head coach, year 1 in our town. I love being a coach. I'm so grateful to be a head coach, even more grateful to be the head coach of a place I feel like is home. In the win-loss column, we didn't accomplish what we wanted to this season, but we are starting something, and this is just the beginning. We're coming. And I felt the coach prime in there too, the hey, this is where I want to be. I'm proud to be the coach of my town, my school, and look out because we're building.
What were some of, again, like the record might not reflect what we had hoped for this year, but what were some of the positives of this year? What are some memories that you have of this year that you really enjoyed?
I mean, I've been at 3 schools before this, right? And that post is something that like means a lot to me. As I interviewed to become to hopefully become the coach at Riverton, I talked a lot about like, it's an old school thought process in my head. And I don't know if high school is this way anymore unless you live in Parowan. But like, I have a thought process of like the town being on board, the whole community, like everybody's in and everybody's, the Hoosiers thing where the bus is going to the game and everybody's following, right? Behind in cars. And it's like everybody's part of it, right? So that was a big thing that I want to have as part of our culture of where like everyone's part of it and everyone wants to be part of it because it's a positive culture, and winning and losing shouldn't be the only part of that, right? And I learned a lot as I worked with the players that we had, because they all had certain things that would frustrate them that we learned to talk through and work with. Quick things before I talk about a cool thing that I got from a player that we accomplished this year is, as we started our banquet, I went through and I was like, I wonder, the school's been open for like 26 years. I wonder what we were as far as offensive production. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, we were the best offensive team the school's ever had.
Wow.
Pretty cool. Like, I like a faster pace and whatnot. And on the unfortunate side, we were the worst offensive team the school's ever had. Worst defensive team the school's ever had. So like, you take the pace and it kind of changes both sides of the ball, right? Like, so a cool thing that group can hold on to is like, hey, we're the best offensive team the school's had in 26 years, which is pretty cool. A school that's had no state championships, but a team that in 2005, 6, 7 went to back-to-back state championships and lost to Bingham. But we were better than that team with the same amount of games as far as offensive production, right? Like, so kind of a super cool positive thing. But one thing, if I can find it real quick, that I got from one of our players that like I sent to our coaches, because it was not just like something that I feel like it wasn't just meant for, like, it was written to me. It was given to me as a card at the end of the season, but it's about our whole coaching staff. So I sent it to them and just said, hey, like, this is about all of us and about you guys and about what we're creating. And I'll just kind of summarize it. And he said, I've never had a coach that cared as much about the players individually. It made me want to play hard. You taught me so much in one season, stuff that I'll remember for the rest of my life. That kind of goes on and like talks about his senior year and what it meant to him and how he felt that we cared about him. And I said, wins and losses aside, I said this to my coaches, wins and losses aside, like, this is the thing that we should be, which is what our program should be about all the time, no matter what, right? Whether we win or lose. And I feel like in a season where we did have some struggles in the win-loss column, right? Getting something like that helps you understand that, like, that's what we want to build, and that's something that's positive that comes out of this.
How do you keep that in mind as you're going through? Because just as a disclaimer for everyone, like we know you off camera, right? Like we're part of your Bantam program. How do you maintain the competitiveness that I think we all have with that caring for the players, right? It seems like there's a balance of that we all want to win, but do we want to win at the sacrifice of hurting kids? And I think the answer is always no to that. But how do you balance that?
If we had my wife in here, she would tell you how much I want to win, because she can feel it. Like, I've gotten better, but she can feel it when we lose. And it kind of affects my like belief in myself, right? But before we started talking about the Olympus program and Coach Barnes, and like Coach Barnes has been coaching so long. He started coaching when I was a freshman in high school. So like, and he's now still coaching, and it's like, holy cow, that was, I started in 99, and obviously they have a great ability to win games. And so I've talked to him a lot, like, hey, what's the, what are you doing? Like, what's the secret sauce? Just give me the magic. You know what I mean? Like, because you take over, when you get your first head job, a lot of times you're taking over a program that needs to get built up and whatever it may be, right? So you're trying to figure out winning and all that stuff. And he said something to me, 5 or 6 years ago that I really tried to apply this year that I hadn't done a great job at previous stops. And it was, he tries to treat every boy like, make sure he knows them and cares about them. Even like a kid that, making cuts is really hard and it's a really challenging thing and nobody likes to do it and it's not fun. But I talked to him about like players, say you're in the spring or the summer and you're working with your team and you're doing tournaments and stuff. And I'm like, how do you talk to those guys and handle those relationships? And he's like, just like the other guys, that is my best player, right? Like, I have a conversation and make sure they know they're loved and cared about, and I value them. And I'm like, even though you're most likely gonna have to cut them, he's like, yeah, it's just it just helps you have good relationships with those guys throughout, and it kind of just makes you think. Like, you hear a lot of college coaches say this is about relationships, and like it's a lot about relationships and what you get out of those, and like you can still have great relationships with the kid that ends up not making your team, as long as but you have to put forth the effort in, right? So through this season, I came into it knowing like we're kind of behind the 8 ball with being able to build and not having a full off season. Obviously, we worked hard and did what we could to try to get better and improve and win games. But at the same time, I went in trying to have the mindset of, I'm going to make sure every kid in our program knows they're cared about from 28 to 1, right? Like, and I tried to do that the best I could and have relationships with each guy. So I think that is something that I've like tried to help me separate the wins and losses with what it's really about, right? Like, because at the end of the day, these guys are going to tell stories about their season, positive or negative. They're going to say, oh, when we played so-and-so, if we would have done this or this, we could have won the game. Or they're going to say, hey, we won that game. Like, they're still going to tell the story regardless, right? Like, so anyway, that's something that I think I've been able to change a little bit about my style as I've gone through it a little bit.
Eric and I both talk about that because, we both played high school basketball as well, but there's only one team that ends up with a trophy at the end of the year, state championship. And what feelings are left with the teammates? Are they good? Are they generally negative? Are they so-so? And I think to hear from the coaching staff that they care about each of the players, that's a priority of yours, is a big deal. So you arrive on scene. Take us through how tryouts are, because you may or may not know the kids that are in your region right off the bat and who's coming out for tryouts. Take us through that process.
We decided to, I don't know if the right way to put it is like help build some toughness around our program. There's a lot of other schools that do this as well, but we decided to have 6 a.m. sessions the first week that we could start. So, and I think what that did is it made the group that came out to tryouts a little bit smaller, because you got to really be into it if you're going to show up to the school at 6 a.m.
That's a good idea.
In November, when it's freezing, right? Like, you got to know that you're in it to compete and try to make the team. So, we took those 6 a.m. sessions and took them as skill work and conditioning. And usually I've learned when a new coach comes into a place, a lot more kids come out to tryouts as opposed to when you're settled in and you've been there for a few years, because they're just like, oh, maybe, some seniors that got cut a couple of years, oh, it's a new coach, maybe he'll see something different in me, which could totally happen, right? Like you could evaluate them way different than the previous coaching staff or whatever it may be. So we ended up with a lot more kids than we probably will have next year, right? Even with doing the early tryouts. But so we did a 6 a.m. where we did skill work and conditioning, and then we came back after school. We did the young guys, and then we did the old guys, and we go through a lot of like skill work and what we're looking for in ball handling and shooting abilities. And then we want to see them in live action and see how they play with the teammate, how they make decisions, how they see the floor, how they are keeping their guy in front of them. And we kind of hold that pattern through however many days of tryouts that we need. And we ended up needing 4 sessions with the JV varsity group. So we had the Monday, Tuesday, 2 sessions each day. And then I think we went into Wednesday with our younger group. But we were able to do an extra session in the morning. So we really got 6 sessions to evaluate those guys and make the decisions on that.
If I'm a parent or a kid watching this and I'm coming up as maybe a 9th grader and I want my kid to make the team, or I'm a kid and I would like to make your team, what can they do in tryouts to really stand out that maybe people wouldn't understand as the perspective of the coaches?
I think outside of being able to put the ball in the basket, which is the ultimate, like if you can score it, you're going to have a good shot at making the team, right? Is going to be, how are you with your teammates that you're playing the games with that we put you in, right? Are you high-fiving guys a lot? Are you a hustle guy that goes and gets on the floor and dives for the ball? Are you a guy that gets rebounds? Are you a guy that does the little things that equate to big things in a game, right? Like, so outside of the showy stuff, right? The scoring and the ball handling, are you able to get down and get dirty in the trenches and go, show that you don't care about scoring sometimes, you don't care about doing the things that everybody likes to watch in the NBA or whatever it may be, right? Like, are you going to do those harder things? Yeah. I think those things stand out a lot. If you're going to win a sprint, right? Win the sprints, balls on the floor, go get after it, that kind of stuff. I think stuff that helps people stand out.
That's what's been interesting as we've been talking to other teams, especially the ones that have gone on and won the state tournament, is they have these players that buy into that role that you talked about of none of them are liabilities on offense. It's not that they can't score, but so many of them buy into, I'm going to be the best defender on the floor. I'm going to be the best rebounder on the floor. I'm going to shut down the best player on the other team or get in their head or whatever else.
Right.
So I think that's interesting. Just as my son, right, is like, hey, your job isn't always to shoot the ball every time you touch it. There's other things happening there.
Yeah, there's some statistic out there like you don't have the ball in your hands like 93% of the game. So what are you doing with that 93%?
Yeah.
Or whatever it may be, right? Like, anyway.
I think that you are one of the most involved head coaches that I've seen in the youth programs, in the Bantam programs. So take me through that mindset and philosophy and the time that you spend to try and build these younger groups up. Why are you spending that time?
I think a big part of it is we talked before we got going here is that I want the Riverton boundary kids to go to Riverton. I don't want to lose a handful to other schools, right? So getting in there and getting present and seeing them and being around them. And, we went to a good amount of our 7th and 8th grade Bantam teams games just to show support and let them know that like, hey, we're here to be part of this and we want you to be a Silver Wolf all the way through and be part of this program. So that's the biggest reason that I want to build something that's built around community and staying in your boundaries, right? Like we watched the college game and it's like there's some graphics out there about like where every player in the Sweet 16 started their college career, and that's just what colleges turn into. But like my old school hometown, little town mentality is, man, let's love the school that we're in boundaries for, and let's make it something that we have pride in and we want to be part of. And it helps if you can keep your own kids in the boundaries, then you can just build from there. And I think that's a big part of it. And making sure they know that it's a fun thing. It's not just not just we're trying to work hard all the time and do, playing the game is fun. That's a big part of like being part of it too. Like, because enjoying it and having these bantam kids come to the varsity games and be behind the bench, that's one of the funnest things, or be part of the high five line or whatever it is. Like watching them, like your son, look up to a varsity player like he's an NBA guy is a fun thing to see. Like, so to me, like making it important is a big part of why I want to do that and be involved in that.
It's a little bit of a new thing for me too, is seeing these players that may play outside of their high school boundaries. And I don't know that I love it, and I'm happy to put that on film. I don't know that I love it. None of us here probably love it, but I do want to talk a little bit about you being involved in the Bantam program. It was cool because our sons played on the same team, and they're looking up to these guys like they're the biggest deal. And you had an autograph night where players of the team came out and they signed a poster. It was awesome. It was a ton of fun. But take us through just some of the ideas that have come to mind over the last year of how to keep these younger kids involved to want to play at Riverton.
I was thinking about that night as I was answering that last question, and that, like, my boy has his poster on his little desk, and like that idea actually stemmed from the Lone Peak teams that were national champions with multiple college players and some pro players. 10 years ago, we were playing. I was an assistant coach, I think at Jordan or whatever it is, and we played them. And after the game, they pulled out a bunch of tables, and all of a sudden, you got a huge line of just kids just lined up and they got posters and whatever, and these Haws and Emerys and all those guys are signing this thing, and I was like, that is super cool. That's fun, right? That's a cool idea.
They need to bring NIL to high school now.
Right. Like get your shoes and get all the things, right? I guess. But like that's where I originally picked that up, and like I hadn't done it at all the schools, but I started doing it, and our one we did this year, the first time we did it at Riverton, it was probably a way cooler, a way better thing for our players than it was for the little bantam guys, because we played Copper Hills and they had an unbelievable shooting night that we couldn't stop, and we got our butts kicked. And walking into our guys and being like, okay, look, I understand you're probably not in the mood to walk out there and sit down and sign autographs, right? But by the end of it, once they went out and did it, by the end of it, they had like, it took some stress off of their shoulders of like, oh, because those littles didn't remember what the heck happened in the game. They had no idea. They're just like, oh, I'm getting Blake's autograph or Riker's autograph or whatever. And, Blake, I heard a handful of the Bantam players after, like, as they go through the line, Blake's like asking them who their favorite player is. Like, all the players are sitting here, like, who are you going to say your favorite player is? And they're all like, most of them will say Evan or Riker or whatever it is, right? Like the guys that can dunk or hit a three from the volleyball line or whatever it is. And then they would finish and they'd be like, but Blake, you're my dad's favorite player. Because Blake has like kind of the ultimate kind of old man game type, like plays, I think he had one dunk that, I don't know if it was clean, but he's not like the most athletic guy, but he's consistent, right? So it was a funny story to hear that that it helped our boys kind of like bounce back from a bad loss.
Can you, we were talking about a little bit more, but kind of continuing down this line of having players in the boundaries. You don't have to name names, but just this last year, how many Riverton boundary guys were not playing at Riverton schools that you're aware of?
Riverton boundary guys that started at other schools, I know of four, and they were really good players that I would like to keep and have them come to Riverton.
Yeah, that's such a struggle. I think not only you, but a lot of coaches have too. And some of those might be going for football reasons or for other sport reasons. Right. And that was before you came. But that's super cool that you're building that culture around that, which I think is great. Who are some of the coaches in your life that have kind of helped you develop your philosophies on coaches, whether that's schemes or just general idea?
I've gone through a lot of different books and podcasts and whatnot to try to there's so many things out there now, like you can find anything at any time, and like trying to find the way we wanted to build our core values was a little bit of trial and error, right? I took it from some coaches that I've coached with before, like the organization side of things, like the coach who I started with, Rob Gertzen at Jordan. He was ultra organized, and I was like, oh yeah, that's great. Like, it helps parents know what's happening. Like, here's a calendar for the whole season, and then here's a way we're going to update things. Now they have apps where I can send out an update and say, okay, practice for whatever reason, like we had to change it, it's shorter or longer or whatever, right? Like, so from that side of things, I learned how to be super organized, and also on the X's and O's side with him, he was always very good about, your best players need to get your most shots, right? The guys that can put the ball in the basket the most, they need to get your most shots. So scheming to get those guys more shots than the role players, right, is really important. That I learned from him is he put in offensive stuff, and looking at, like, I know Urban Meyer had a weird fall off in the NFL, but like he had a weird breakdown, and like listening to his book about how he set up Ohio State and like talking about when it all cost. I think he got to that point. I think I heard in his book, it tells a story of they won the national championship and everyone's in the locker room celebrating and enjoying the moment. Cause like, how often do you get that moment to like sit there and be like, oh yeah, we're the best at our sport. He was in his office calling recruits because he wanted to do it again. He didn't even take a minute to like embrace it. Right. Like, so an interesting, like him, like mindset of like change, like it kind of hurt him later. Right. Or he had to, kind of go away from the game and whatnot. But listening to that book, he had some things about like, relentless effort and going as hard as you can from A to B. Like football's a little different where you're like, it's like 6 seconds or 9 seconds or whatever it is. Like go from A to B as fast and as hard as you can every time kind of thing. So I took that effort thing from him, and, he picked up different things from different books and different coaches all around, right? Like an interesting one that I love, that we use part of our core values, and I'll use it going forward, is Carlo's dad, Jordan Mulford. He was a great player and like I think he played at UVU, and he coaches my boy on a club team with the Salt City Hustle. And first time he started their group, he brought him in. He said, okay, we just have 3 rules. And it was play as hard as you can at all times, be a great teammate, and pass the ball to your teammate when they're open. And I have taken being a great teammate and play as hard as you can all the time, every time, straight from his little speech to 4th graders, 5th graders. Yeah. And I'm like, that's like 100%. And I know that's how his boys live their life, right? Like that's those guys, those Mulfords are in the gym constantly. So like picking up things like that, where it's like, you don't want to overcomplicate it with like what you're teaching these guys, because there's a lot coming at them, right? As far as learning offense and defense, and then the scheme is another thing, right? Like, so the culture, trying to keep it simple, but just like picking up the things that are important. So we just have 5 core values that we talked about throughout the season, right? Into practice for a week, we'd pick one and we'd go through it, right? So playing as hard as you can, being a great teammate. One of my favorite ones is grit, developing grit, because I feel like that's something that I've learned myself over the last few years, and not quitting and having perseverance and that kind of stuff. So those core values are kind of what I've picked up from other coaches and have tried to apply to our team.
When you go through the scheming side of things as well, so those are kind of like core values. Now we talk into the nuts and bolts of stuff. Do you find yourself trying to morph the players you have into the scheme that you have, or adapting the scheme to the players that you have? Does that make sense? Like the athletes that you have.
You're not going out and finding the players to fit your style, right? Like I think you always have to adapt to, like talking about getting your best players the most shot, your best scorers the most shots, right? Like you're going to use different stuff to get them those shots, right? So different offensive sets or whatever it may be, right? So even going into, like, we felt like we had a decent team at attacking the basket this last year. So a lot of what we taught was kind of a dribble drive, attack the paint, get to 2 feet, and play out of that, right? Where our team coming back, we don't know if we quite have that type of team. So we're already trying to figure out, okay, what offense do we want to use to create a lot of off-ball movement and create open shots, right? So you're fitting it to who you have, in my opinion, right? Like you're morphing it. So it's kind of hard though, because it's a lot of change. It's a lot of learning on our part and then the players' part, right? They're going to learn something even from the freshman level, kind of learn something that fits the varsity group, and then it might morph 2 or 3 times before they graduate because it's what is most effective.
Okay, so you come in first year at Riverton. You have to select a staff. Tell us how you go about that, what things you looked for, trainers, that type of thing, and how you build out the staff.
The big thing with assistant coaches is time, right? Like, so I had 2 of the coaches that were previously there that came to me and were like, I want to be part of it if you'll have me, kind of thing. And so one of them's a teacher at the school. So, and he had been 3 years in, and I felt like he was kind of gotten what he needed to be able to be a good coach and a solid coach. And then like, that's the first thing you got to kind of say to people. Like if someone reaches out, or if you reach out to them, it's like, here's the schedule. Can you handle this? Right? Like
it's so involved.
Right. There's a lot. Like even like, we'll kick off. We have spring break next week, but once we get back, we're going a few practices a week and we're into a spring league. And it's like, okay, 2 nights a week we'll have practice. 2 nights a week we'll have a game in the spring league. And I need you guys, someone with me every practice, at least one guy. You guys can rotate it how we need to. And then guys to coach games. There'll be 3 games a night when we have those games, sophomore, JV, varsity, and like.
Are you usually at every game?
In the season,
yeah,
yes, and then a lot of the off-season stuff I'll try to be, so that I can obviously watch. And
are you meaning like all
evaluate.
Levels,
yes,
or specifically
yes.
varsity only?
Yeah,
all levels. It's a lot of time.
So sophomore, JV, varsity games, and so that time factor is number one, and then you're gonna kind of go through like, something I also learned this last year from the head coach at Crimson Cliffs, the football coach. They won back-to-back state championships, and I went to high school with him when he was a senior. I was a freshman. I've talked to him on the phone, and he talked a lot about like, I'm picking guys that are going to be high character coaches. I can teach them the basketball stuff later, kind of thing, right? So that went into my decisions to how I picked my staff. Kind of went into him before, but a little bit more emphasized after kind of communicating with him and be like, yeah, that's a great point, right? Like I can teach you how to coach basketball and use your timeouts and explain to a kid what they're doing wrong so they can do it better the next time, right? Like you can teach that. Or like if teaching character is a little different, right? Someone's set in who they are and how they act. It's a little harder to change their behavior because they're adults and we're adults, and like when they're not with us at practice, they're going to be who they are, right? So that was a big part of like that I really liked that I talked to him about. Like high character guys is a big piece of it, right? So the time and the character, and then the game from there is kind of the priority for me as far as picking a staff.
I've cited you, and I probably did a terrible job of it, but you were explaining how you can maybe scratch a referee, or they can pick you, or you can pick them. Can you elaborate on that? Do you have any say on certain referees in a game?
Oh boy, you don't get to pick them. No, I will say in the last 3 seasons, I only have 1 technical foul.
That's
2 seasons in a row was 0.
All right.
So
It's a big step.
take that. I wasn't that bad before.
That's a big step.
But if you have officials that you feel aren't,
Have a vendetta against you.
maybe,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of, officials, not many people want to be an official right now, because you've got not only coaches, you got parents acting crazy in the stands. And so like, it's not always a fun job. So like, I've kind of started to realize that over the last few years and be like, okay, like, I don't think most of them are out here trying to make me lose. Like they're out here trying to do a good job, make the right calls, whatever it may be, right? But if you have one that you feel like has a vendetta against you, you get to communicate with the UHSA and say, I want to block. You get two blocks, 2 people, 2 officials.
For a year? For a season?
Yeah, you can say, I want so-and-so and so-and-so to not do my games, and they're supposed to.
Are they all games or just home games?
Any game.
All games?
Any game, yeah. Wait, say that again. What were you going to say?
Maybe, you had dated his wife or some weird situation, and, the whistle
The other ref.
Yes,
Or the ref,
whistle tends to blow the wrong way.
He's
so.
negative about that. Well, I haven't heard that story from anybody, but maybe it's out there.
We did have a question from the internet back to your staff, and we can't say who it was, but their question was, who is your favorite assistant?
From the internet?
From Instagram.
Coach, we have fans.
Yeah.
Oh.
We're pretty big. A lot of people following.
As a good parent would say, I have no favorites.
No favorite assistant.
The coach that's there willing to work is my favorite coach.
That's a good answer.
It's a safe answer.
Right?
Yeah, seems like a cop out.
Hey, talk to us about your philosophy of playing young players up to help develop them for the future. I feel like it's happening even more than when Eric and I played. I mean, seeing a lot of sophomores out there this year, some juniors. What's your philosophy? Do you like seeing the younger players developing and playing, or do you like to have a more old, mature team?
I think it's hard to go all seniors, right? And coming into a new school, I was kind of like, this is probably where we're going to be just based on time and being able to evaluate the younger players. And honestly, our group those were our best guys that were going to give us the best chance to win. So like, I think most coaches would go into it with, we want to play the guys that are going to give us the best chance to win, but also like I got talked to Coach Sims after the season a little bit about what he does and whatnot. And he was talking about, if you have 2 players, one's a junior, one's a sophomore, and they're like pretty similar, right? Like you're obviously going to play the sophomore more than the junior, or play up the sophomore and play him on JV or varsity, whatever it may be, right? Like just because they're a year younger and you have that much more time with them. So that's kind of like the approach that I've taken. If I can see that the sophomore is about the same skill-wise and ability-wise and production-wise as a junior or senior, I'm going to give the nod to the younger guy. Like, I don't think there's a perfect combination of saying, okay, I want 2 sophomores playing varsity and 3 juniors and 3 seniors, right? Like, probably not the way that most coaches go. They just want to have the best group to win. And I've always thought of it like a reverse funnel, right? Like as you're a freshman, there's more of you. Mm-hmm. Then it slowly, seniors, you end up having a smaller group. That's kind of usually how it goes.
I've tried using your quote on that as well, because you shared that with us, and I've goofed that up. I didn't realize the funnel was facing down.
I always do it anyway. My visual isn't correct.
I'm glad we had you on the show. That's perfect.
Glad it's videoed so people can see.
Now you can demonstrate just like this.
Not a pyramid.
Seniors are at the top.
Not a pyramid.
Yeah.
Yeah. What separates in your mind the good players in 6A, both as you're scouting against them and also as you have them on your own team? Once you get to that level, what is it that the great players are doing different than the average or just good players?
I think the best players in a given season are ones that have a lot of confidence in their abilities, which means they have done the work on a daily basis. So like, I don't know what the exact quote is that I think it's a Kobe quote, where like if you put in the preparation, like you're gonna perform, right? Like I can't remember exactly what the quote is, but like it's all about doing the work beforehand, right? So those guys that do that work on a regular basis are going to be your best players, and having experience at the varsity level a previous year before, I think carries a lot of weight for these teams that are able to have guys that come back and play varsity multiple years, right? Like, so those are usually the best. Like, I think a little bit of a struggle that our group had this year was we only had one guy that had major varsity experience that returned. Mm-hmm. So it was like a new thing for 7 guys right? Like every game was like, oh, I've never been in this moment of the crowd yelling, you know, we need a basket, whatever it may be. So like watching them and how they responded, it was kind of like, oh yeah, there's not the experience level here that's gonna get you certain things that you need to advance far in the tournament, whatever it may be, right?
Tell us why coaching has become your life calling. I mean, you love it and you have shown grit, like you said earlier in this interview. Tell us why you love it.
I think because, too, there's a certain level of it, as we've talked about already, of one, the time commitment is insane. The mental aspect of it, of how do you handle winning and losing and not take that into your own personal self-worth.
Absolutely.
I am a good or bad person based off of my win-loss record. Like there's so much that goes into coaching that people don't see and understand. So why do you do it?
It's the money, isn't it? It's the money, isn't it?
I'll keep going. The relationships with a spouse, the relationships with kids. Like there's so much that people don't see.
I'm waiting for that contract to come over.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like my answer is like, you can say it's a spiritual answer. I don't know if you would say it's like what I don't know, meant to be doing, but, so I came off an LDS mission in 2006. I ran into Rob Gertson at a men's rec league game. Rob Gertson was the coach at West High School when I was an 8th grader. I was supposed to play for him. He ended up not being the coach when I got there. Crazy story. But I run into him. And he's like, hey, what's up? Da, da, da. And I'm like, hey, good to see you. He's like, I just got the Jordan High head coaching job. Do you want to coach with me? And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe. He's like, well, maybe you could be my sophomore coach. Like, come on, come in. Just do it, whatever. So we meet. We do some meetings with the other coaches before the season. I walk into tryouts. We start tryouts, and I'm like, I'm doing this. I don't care what else I do, whether I be a teacher, whether I own a business. I'm finding a way to do this forever, basically, is what I thought in the moment. And as I was an assistant for 9 years, it was a lot less stressful than it has been the last 9 years. You're an assistant, everybody's your friend. They love you. You don't have to really take the heat for many things, right? Like, so I just found like in that moment, the first day of tryouts, the first time at Jordan High School, that I was like, boom, like this is it. And I went through and I tried to be a teacher multiple times and I just couldn't find like a desire to want to do that. And as you're applying for head coaching jobs, a lot of them are like, I want you to be a teacher. Luckily, I found schools that are willing to not have me be a teacher and give me a chance to be a head coach, right? Like, and I take on the athletics class, which every other day, you know, you got to be at throughout the whole school year, right? It's not just in season, it's all the way. Like right now, today we have it, and Tuesday, you know, once we get back from spring break, I go in and we'll do workouts and stuff in the spring and then in the fall kind of thing. But so as I was an assistant coach, it was like, okay, I started a pest control business and I ran that for 8 years, and that was how, you know, provide for my family. And then I'd go coach. And like, luckily I married a spouse who believed that it was something that I loved to do, and she was willing to allow me to do that thing, right? So I'll tell you, the first 5 years, 6 years of being a head coach were a lot easier than the last 3 years of being a head coach.
In what way?
As an assistant, right, you go into it and you're like, oh yeah, I can do this well, and I can, in my mind, do more with less, or whatever type of team I have, right? I can outperform what we're supposed to do, how many games we're supposed to win, or whatever it may be, right? Like going through the changes that I have had to experience, it has put a lot of strain on like my self-worth and like, oh, can I really do this and have a positive impact, or am I just another guy that can't do it? Right? Like I've had to go through that the last 3 years as I've switched schools. And it, for me, like my story is like not a fun one to tell. It's super, super challenging for me because I felt like I was building something and then didn't get to see it through. And learning how to have that self-worth for myself and not allow it to affect my home life and my home relationships came with like conversations with therapists and whatnot, and like figuring it out and getting to a point where I can still believe that I can have a positive impact, and winning doesn't define me, but it's still something that I value and I want to do. So I don't know. I can't remember the question, but
no, I think you're doing
that's how I got into it. That's how I got into it initially.
That got deep.
But like, it just went like, that's just where like I had every reason to quit the last 3 years. I had every reason to be like, you're not good enough. You shouldn't do this. And all you do is lose. And I could still feel that way in this moment right now. Right. Like, but back to my first day in the gym with it actually doing tryouts, it was like, you should do this. And this is what you're going to do. And like, so even going through a season, like I was at Syracuse in between Harriman and Riverton. And I got there in July. It was super late again. And I was kind of strapped with a group of seniors that didn't have a ton of varsity experience. And because they had a group before them that was really good. And so they didn't play varsity as juniors. And like, we were in a really good region with Davis, and Fremont had a really good group, and Layton had a really good group. And we went 0-10. And I came in and did the same thing with Riverton. And it's really, there's challenges to like getting over that part of it where you're like, I love it and I want to do it. And it's something that wakes me up in the morning, right? That gets me like, I'm going to be better. I'm going to be the best coach. I'm going to be a Matt Barnes that wins all the games because he's done that for 20 years, right? Like, but it's not easy. Like, I don't think it's easy, and doesn't just like winning doesn't just come. Like, if I've learned anything the last few years, that's not what happens. So
I want to add that we've had an interview with another coach, Coach Sims. He had been bounced around a little bit and hadn't found success in his first couple
7 years.
Yeah, in his first couple ventures. And he was one of the most impressive coaches we've interviewed today. Very, very polished, but it didn't come immediately for him too. And I think, obviously, I live in the boundaries for where you coach, my son as well, but I think you're at the spot you want to be. I mean, you're at the place you want to coach where it probably means the most based on your posts and the words that you shared. And I think that's cool. So
yeah,
I think there's going to be a lot of upside from here.
It was hard. The things that I went through were hard. I'm sure Coach Sims I've talked to him a little bit about his, and his was a challenge just the same, like a little obviously different on each of our sides, but I can't help. I have no thought that like there's no coincidence about what happened and how I got here.
I think that it's interesting as coaches listen to this as well. Not in coaching, but in other things. Like I feel like this imposter syndrome all the time of, am I really good enough to be doing what I do in my professional life or as a parent or whatever else? And it's easy with all the publicity around those that win the state tournament or that win a lot. But as we mentioned, there's one team that has that. And I think so much more often coaches are coming in and experiencing situations like yours where losing seasons happen. Every region has to have teams that have losing seasons. And so you're not alone in that. And that's where it's easy as somebody to sit here and say this, but you're not alone in that. And so how you handle that with your kids and to get that note from your kids, I think shows that coaching is so much more than that win and loss record, which is fantastic. Can we lighten things up a little bit?
Please.
Whatever you want. I'm not going to dance, but
you are you are a sneakerhead. You've got a collection of shoes that rivals the Nike store itself. What are your favorite pair of basketball shoes?
I'll just buy Jordans on boring basketball shoes. Like I refuse to. I have started to like Kobe's a lot more recently, but I'm not like committed as to like going and bidding and like getting those types, right? Like I'm not going to StockX and like the other sites, but like if I find a shoe like these ones I have on, they're just the whatever these are called. I don't know names of anything.
Mm-hmm.
If I have like this in 4 colors. So like once I find one, I'm like, I just get all the colors of that one, right? Like, so I don't know if I have a lot of pairs, but I don't know if I am like fully committed to it though. Bidding and like doing all the things that the kids do. I don't know. Do adults do those things and go bid and stuff?
I don't. I just find the ones that are available and same thing. I get 7 versions of it. And I'm happy.
That's what I like to do. So like,
yeah.
I don't know if I'm good enough at playing the sport to like say that I can wear a certain shoe, but I just go with my goat and like wear his shoe and not buy the other guy's shoe.
Nothing touches my feet except for Jordan's.
That's right.
How often do you design or come up with new jerseys? Because this is going somewhere. We need to know.
Yeah.
Riverton's colors are purple and silver and black and probably white.
Right. Those are the colors.
There's been a mix of some lavender in there. I'm just wondering, what is going to be Riverton basketball going forward? Talk to us about the swag.
Okay, do you remember 2 years ago watching Kansas State wear a full lavender uniform?
I don't remember what I did yesterday.
Lehigh also sported.
Lehigh, yes. They
sported the all lavender.
Yes.
So the thought was to take a color that will pop with black. Like this dark purple doesn't necessarily pop hard.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
So that's my thought process. Give you a uniform that like pops a little bit off the black.
Yeah.
So that's why there wasn't as much.
Yes.
So
I like the thought behind it.
like at Syracuse, we had I can't remember what the exact green was, but it's kind of brighter.
Yeah.
So we kind of did the same idea with that. But I'm not taking feedback on the uniforms anymore.
It
so
makes
like,
sense. How many uniforms do you have?
We have 4. We have a black, purple, a white, and a silver.
Do they all
for
say
varsity?
Riverton or
They're
Silver
different.
Wolves?
So we got Wolves on the black one. We got Riverton on the purple and silver, and then Wolves on the white.
You're not taking feedback, so this is just me talking to Eric. I have to tell you, it's been cool seeing some of the schools that have like a nickname of their town. I'm not. Go ahead.
Go.
I don't know what Riverton's would be. I don't feel like I've lived here long enough to know what Riverton's.
I don't know.
You know,
which ones are you talking about?
I don't know. Let's get back to Riverton. The old Dome Meeting Hall, maybe? I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know.
I'm excited to see your jerseys next year. How's that?
This does lead me to a question that is on my mind, and we've asked some others too. If you are this, whether you want to call it a normal funnel or reverse funnel. You are at the peak of all of these opinions, of the opinions of your wife, your son, your kids, the opinions of the assistant coaches, the players, the parents, some goofy podcast of everything, who you're playing, when you're calling your timeouts, your demeanor on and off the court, the colors that you choose on uniforms. How do you deal with all of these opinions and then stick to your guns in a way? Does that make sense?
Yeah, what you believe.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have ever done a personality test or know the personality types.
Not well.
There's a personality type called the amiables, and I fit into that. It's not a driver. It's not a analytical, right? Like analyticals are all about numbers, and like drivers are like, I don't care what you think or anybody thinks, I'm going to do what I want. Mm-hmm. An amiable is someone who wants everyone around them to be happy. So being a natural amiable, being a head coach is a challenge because you got to get outside of that, right? Because you're going to have to make decisions that maybe half the people in the room aren't happy about, right? Like, but I don't know if you'd say it's part of the fun, but it's part of the challenge of like, okay, how are we handling postseason conversations with our players? Everyone has a take. Should we do it this way? Should we do it this way? Yeah. I have to say, okay, this is the way to do it. A lot of times with like the minuscule stuff, like the uniforms and the gear, I'm like, I'm getting whatever I want. I don't care what you guys think. Right? Like maybe we'll ask the players because that's like their season, right? Like, but like decisions on, it's interesting because a lot of things we talked about this year with our players was body language, next play. And sometimes the feedback or the array of opinions is valuable. Because sometimes it's like, oh, I'm not going to listen to the parents. I'm not going to listen to the teacher that watched the game that thinks we should, play a 2-3 zone the whole game against a team that shoots 75% from 3, right? Like, but sometimes you'll get it and it's something you're teaching, like teaching body language and moving on to the next play. We were playing a game in region and we had multiple possessions of missed shots, and eventually we had a shot that was open 3. I'm like here watching the play on the other end. Shot doesn't go in. I sink. And I walk back down to coach the defensive side, and I hear a parent go, "Body language, coach, body language." And I'm like, "Oh, right?
Yeah.
You're right. That is, if I'm preaching it, I've got to live it."
Yeah.
So like, there's a lot that comes at you, right? Like that comes and like, you just got to do what's best ultimately it's what's best for the team and that group.
I love though that you shared the results of the personality test, because we know you, outside of basketball even a little bit, but you're a successful real estate agent too. And certainly those skills are very much salesmanship and making sure all sides of a transaction run well. And I mean, everything that you just said. So combining that with coaching, head coaching at a high level, 6A school, that's a lot. That's asking a lot of you. Yeah.
What do you have any game day traditions that you like to do? Not just yourself, or maybe yourself. Do you have any suspicions? Are you superstitious or a little stitious?
Superstitious. I'm just a little stitious. I usually like to go to the younger games. I don't know. I just do that with it being close enough. Oh, here's one. It's I don't know. We're going to dive back into the deep end a little bit.
Yes.
Sorry. It's not like it's just part of who I am as a person, right? Like my mom, she was like the ultimate like fan of us kids. Is like, I don't know if your moms were the same. Like she would talk to her friends about us like we were going pro, right? Like we'd play a game in high school or whatever, and she would be ranting. She was at every game, baseball, whatever it is, right? Like, I got the Cottonwood job, my first head job in 2016. And my wife was the first person I called to tell her because I wasn't at home. And then my mom was the second person I called her. And a month after I got the job, she passed away just unexpectedly, right? 53 years old. And in the process, we ended up getting like dog tags with her fingerprint. And so every game day, I wear that. Kind of like, I don't know, just feels like she's there, right? Like she was at games when I was an assistant coach. She's in a lot of pictures I have like sitting behind, like, and everyone always asks her like, "Who's your kid?" And she's like, "Oh, it's the coach." And so they would be like, "Oh, that's, kind of funny, right?" Like she was at a lot of the games. And so that's one thing that's like, not like just means a lot, right? It's something that's cool that I carry with me. That's awesome. One tradition.
Anything at the school, like the whole team wearing matching sweats or shirt and tie or anything like that to kind of set them apart on game day?
Yeah, we do that. Like on road games, we wear our travel gear, which is a matching sweatsuit basically, and home games, shirt and tie to school. And yeah, that's just kind of a team thing that we want to do. And
awesome.
Kind of helps the others.
Do you have rules on like shoe colors, sock colors?
I have previously. This was the first year I took it away because it seems like everyone wants a pink, orange, whatever shoe. I was never like a team shoe guy because everyone's feet like fit differently. Like when I played, we had the Iverson Questions or whatever, the heaviest shoe ever made, right? Like so heavy, and like everyone's foot just fits them different. So my rule was usually like mostly white shoe or whatever. This last season was the first time I didn't do it. So we had different colors everywhere.
Well, our most watched video so far is us reviewing my favorite shoe, which is why we brought these
The books.
On camera. On camera release.
to submit as the team shoe for this next
Yes.
year.
Well, I mean, should I try to get them to buy them, all of them?
No, but we just wanted to show everybody.
Do we have to
and
bid
to
on
show
them
You,
to
Maybe
get
just the
them?
coaching staff. or
they're
something.
under $100 right
They
now.
feel so flat. Are they flat?
$100 on Nike, the Nike app.
You can clean them really easily, though, probably.
I mean, they're almost the identical color to your shirt right now, which is
Can you-
probably
can you
where
see
did
it?
it go? It disappeared.
It's gone. That's funny. Those are awesome.
Yeah.
I'll talk them into it.
We're submitting that for the record
Okay.
for another opinion you got to
Let
deal
the
with.
let the players know.
Yeah. Lance, we appreciate you taking this time with us. Again, the fact that we know you off court, I think, is really great because what so many people don't see is what I mentioned, the time that you spend not just on your team, but on the Bantam teams. You've been fortunate enough to let me into some of your conversations with yourself and your coaches and the level that you care about these kids. I think it's sometimes hard for men in general, but also if you're a coach in that position to let your soft, squishy side out for people to see you in that vulnerable position. But I hope that everybody in your program understands that the players that are there now, the parents and the kids coming up, how much you truly care about them and their successes moving forward. So anybody who watches this, we're going to have kids, players, coaches from all over. There's just a lot that goes into your life, and that you're willing to do that and your family is willing to support you in that is really, really cool.
Piggybacking real quick on that, we were privy to watch a practice and heard some of the players, calling you Gummy, right? Just a nickname. But that is cool to me to see that a player is comfortable enough with their coach who wants to win, both player, both coach, but to call you something like that, it lets them know that they're well received and that they're well treated and that you care and all the things. So from both of us, really, it's been fun following you this year and looking forward to next year and years to come.
Sweet. Thanks, boys.